Hello. In this video, we'll talk about a lesson plan structure for teaching online reading comprehension. This structure grows out of the work on teaching print comprehension through models like reciprocal teaching and Reader's Workshop, in which students receive a lesson about a skill or strategy and then have time to practice that skill on their own. So, what a lesson for online reading might look like. So, it could begin with a mini lesson or think aloud, and then time for students to work or practice the skill, and finally ending with time for students to either reflect on or share with the class about the work they did during the work time. So a mini lesson or think aloud, during this time the teacher shows the students what she wants them to learn during that class period, or what strategy she offers them that they can include in their repertoire. So for example, if she's giving a lesson on choosing a hyperlink, she might describe by thinking out loud to herself. I think to myself, am I ready to move on to a new web page yet? Or is there other information I want to get from the site that I'm already on first? And she would do this with the website in front of her where the students could see, so they could see how she approached the task and how she was thinking about it. Because a lot of these skills and strategies are things that you do inside of your head. By thinking aloud, the teacher is able to show students how she wants them to think about them when they approach the task on their own. This is a longer example. I'll leave this in the slides for anyone who wants to look at it rather than read it out loud. But it's here if you want to see something that goes a little bit more into depth. And this comes from Julie Quiro's 2011 article talking about reading as thinking, modeling the hidden complexity of online reading comprehension. So if you look to that article, there is even more in-depth examples of teachers modeling think-alouds. Following the mini lesson or the think aloud, there's time for students to practice. Now, some teachers will do this by providing the materials for students, by providing a specific website or a specific folder with documents for them to look through. Other teachers will allow students to work a bit more freely and independently. This is up to you to decide and think about how quickly you want to release students into independence. And different teachers, particularly working with different age levels, may make different calls there. As I mentioned, this could follow a reading workshop model where students are sort of reading on their own and choosing their own texts, or something more akin to reciprocal teaching where there's more of a gradual release of responsibility. Students can also work in groups or individually. I think it's definitely important for students to have some time to work individually, not always to work in groups, since so much of online reading involves reading on your own and in isolated spaces, but there can be some benefit to having some group work where students can talk about the strategy and share with each other how they're going about it. Again, this is something that you could make different calls about during different lessons or adjust your teaching to your own preferences. The important thing is that students actually have a time to practice the skill and to work on it after it's presented by the teacher. Finally, the period ends with sharing or reflection time. This could be written, it could be discussed in small groups or shared with whole class. And it's time for students to think about and share about how their practice with the new strategy, with the new skill went, on challenges that might have come up, on questions that are lingering. And this is a time to sort of wrap up and have some closure. The teacher can use the information that she learns from this portion of the lesson to inform the lesson that comes next as well, making the teaching surrounding online reading fairly responsive to students' needs. So if she sees that a lot of students still have questions, still have challenges, she may do another follow-up lesson the next day or later in the day, depending on the schedule, that addresses those concerns. Again, a period for teaching online reading may look like a mini lesson or think aloud to begin. This can be short, 5 or 10 minutes. Time for students to work or practice the skill might be longer, maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes, depending on how much time you have. And then a short period of time for students to reflect or share on how they are learning about the skill and how it's going. Thank you so much. In the next video, we will look at teaching an inquiry cycle in which students inquire into problems over the course of a unit, so not just one lesson.